Hello and welcome to episode 237 of the Random Channel Podcast.
Sorry.
Oh no, Kevin, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm Kevin. I just sneezed.
I'm Jason.
Angel's here.
What happened, Kevin? Why are you in pain?
No, I just sneezed. Yeah, I couldn't hold it back.
Oh, that was a sneeze? Oh.
Yeah, that was a sneeze.
Most people when they sneeze don't say, oh God, but okay. Well, gesundheit then, Kevin. And welcome everyone to episode 237. We did it, guys. We have a fall... Oh, yeah, I forgot to say the name of it. It's not a palindrome, by the way. 237 is not a palindrome. But no, we did. We have a fall game lineup from Nintendo. I mean, we didn't do anything. But, like, Nintendo spent a good chunk of the last 2 weeks since our last episode announcing all sorts of stuff coming down the pipe, including a bunch of stuff around Mario's 35th anniversary, hence our episode title of The Anniversary Pipeline. See what I did there? But anyway, yeah, we have news. We're going to break it all down this episode.
Anniversary Pipeline?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weak.
I should probably... Yeah, the next one will be better, trust me. I already ran by Angel. But anyway, we're going to be breaking down news... in this episode from everything they announced, good and bad. Plus, they then announced Hyrule Warriors on top of that. So we're going to talk about Age of Calamity and sharing thoughts on that. And then Ubisoft was like, hey, we heard you like Breath of the Wild, so we made Immortals, and we'll be talking about that. And then they were also like, also, we heard you have a Switch, and we're making a Prince of Persia, but we don't really know if it's coming to Switch ourselves, so let's find out together. And we have that. Anyway, point is, we actually have a good amount of news for once in actual games and whatnot, like first-party games, not just indie. So there are timestamps for all of this on the blog post for this episode at ranto.com. If you're on YouTube, it's under the video. But before we get to all the first-party shenanigans, we do have what we've been playing to discuss. And, well, what have you guys been playing? Who wants to go first?
He's been playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV.
Hey, yo.
And Hearthstone. Yeah, finally making it through the story. Pretty good stuff. Learned that I had the advanced mode all along because I didn't bother to check a different tab.
I don't know what any of that meant.
Yeah, that blocked my progress for a good amount of time.
What about on the Nintendo side?
Exclusively Nintendo stuff? I guess nothing. I mean, they haven't really come out with anything that I want. I mean, luckily, we managed to get an early copy of Fight Crab, and as much as I wanted to play that on Steam, I figured might as well see. I don't know. I guess if it's worth playing it on the Switch. And I mean, so far, it's a fun game. Like when you play it, you initially see like I guess what kind of game it's going to be in your library, and I guess by that I mean you know whether it's going to be a game you're going to be sinking a lot of time into, or that game that you bring out every couple months just to. I don't know, do like a round or two with a friend or just to mess around for a little bit and then you kind of just put it back in hiatus. So, presentation-wise, like, I mean, the game is just very silly. It's just crab fights and sometimes lobsters
holding weapons, right? That's kind of the key part here. They're not just crabs. They don't they have projectiles?
That's not the key part. I mean, weapons are just like items. Like you have normal battles that don't have any weapons. Sometimes there are weapons. Like it's just like Smash Brothers at that point. Like, yeah, items are there. There are items sometimes, but yeah, and you could pick different types of crabs. They each have their weaknesses. Some are heavier, some are faster, some have longer arms, some take more damage, some deal more damage. It's also percentage based, like Smash Brothers. It's very much like Smash Brothers, except the only difference instead of doing ring outs, which you can do, because some stages. You know, you could be knocked off the stage and you can't make it back. You just lose. You have to avoid being knocked over. The higher your percentage is, the more likely the next hit will flip you on your back. And if you're on your back for over 3 seconds, you lose. So it's, you know, kind of like a tap out. But you can mash the punch button to try to get back on your feet. But controls-wise, it's one of those games that just has intentionally awkward controls. And it's just kind of fun to mess around with, but it doesn't feel fun to try to get good at it. It feels almost like trying to get good at it almost takes the fun out of it.
So is it like Octodad style weird controls, or like where on the weird control spectrum does it sit?
It's like somewhere between like Octodad and Gang Beasts. It's like very physics heavy, very like limbs flying around. Because I mean, even describing it, you'll kind of get the sensation of how it feels just after I'm done describing them. So, like, the left stick controls the left arm, the right stick controls the right arm. You can move them up, down, left, right. If you press the L button or R button, you pinch with each respective claw that the side of the button is on. L2 and R2, or LZL or ZL, they do a punch with each respective crab arm. And so, as you can tell, the analog sticks won't move the character. So by clicking down on the left stick, you turn the camera left. By clicking down on the right stick, you turn the camera right. By moving left and right, I mean, if you move both sticks to the left, you turn the crab left. If you move both sticks to the right, you turn the crab right. And you actually move with the D-pad. And
wait, what?
It's not even, yeah.
Huh.
So, like, you tap twice on the right. So you tap right on the D-pad to move a little to the right, or down to move back, and up to move forward, and so on. But you can also double tap them to continuously walk in that direction. So if you just want to infinitely walk straight, you can do that just by tapping up twice, or back continuously by pressing back twice. So it works in the sense that, like, you could just kind of hit the direction towards your opponent or the opposing crab. That way you don't have to worry about moving whatsoever. So you could just focus on your punching and pinching.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels awkward, and that's definitely the point of it. It's not supposed to feel extremely precise, because every time you throw a punch, even though you're not always fighting underwater, like most of the time you are, but it really does feel like you're fighting underwater, and all the good and the bad come with that as well, making everything feel very floaty and slow, but also just very silly and fun, because there are some stages that I feel are definitely way more entertaining than others, just because of the set pieces that come with them. Like, there's a stage where you're literally fighting in the middle of what looks like a city block. So there's some big buildings, there's cars you could pick up, there's palm trees you can get, and that's also where there's like a ditch, and it just looks funny, seeing like these giant crabs, or maybe normal sized crabs in a tiny city, but Godzilla sized crabs terrorizing a city, just trying to fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, like, because the game is not out until next Tuesday, I've just been playing through the campaign. And each campaign just kind of sets you off, or puts you up against each different species of crab. And I'm guessing a few crabs that you don't even get to play as, because some of these things are freaking huge. But it's been really fun. It just goes by really fast as well. Like, as soon as you're done fighting one crab, it immediately starts the next fight. But typically, in these single-player campaigns, you don't start with an item, but your opponent usually does. And if you defeat them, sometimes they drop their item and you can use it against the next crab. And it just keeps getting more and more ridiculous, which is just always appreciated. Like, on the first level, like, first you maybe start fighting a crab that doesn't have a weapon. Then after you defeat it, the next one that spawns in is holding a knife. And then after you defeat that one, the next one that spawns in is holding a pistol. Then the next one that spawns in is holding like a giant saber. Then the next one is using like giant like turbine rockets that literally have it like fly at you like crazy speeds. Or later on in another world, no, that's pretty cool. It looks like you're fighting in a medieval dining hall or a big bar. It kind of looks like what's that place called? Hofbrauhaus in Vegas.
Oh, the German themed restaurant off the strip. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it kind of looks like that, but you're on the floor, and you're crab sized, so you're on the floor fighting each other, and and there's a crab that you fight that's holding like a giant Thor's hammer. That's just really cool because it's big and electrically. And then there's another crab that you fight that's holding like what seems like a demonic sword that fires like missiles at you. And effects wise and spectacle wise, it's really cool to look at. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like it's just a really fun game, but in short bursts is all it is.
Right.
And it's no fault to it. Whatever they were aiming for, I feel they executed well. But yeah, that's just kind of like the kind of feel that I get from the game.
Right. And you've only been doing single player so far, right? Since it's not out till the 15th.
Yeah. I tried like connecting to a match against other people just because obviously other people do have review codes, but couldn't connect anyone. So I did do like a few matches around against the CPU, and it does have a ton of tutorials. So there is no, if you really want to, there is no way you won't know how to play the game. Mm-hmm. Like it teaches you through everything step by step, like from movement to picking up weapons to blocking to some more advanced techniques, but yeah, it's as wacky as I had hoped, but it's just not as sticky as I had hoped.
Sure.
Like, because, you know, like after 30 to 40 minutes, I felt like I was definitely done for the day with the game. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like ARMS. Like, I enjoy ARMS, like, the first 2 or 3 games, but then after that, no matter how goofy it is or how crazy everything looks, like, it just starts to get a little repetitive.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you're just kind of swinging your arms. You're just kind of flailing them until, like, you hope something happens. And even playing strategic doesn't really help sometimes, because sometimes your opponent has a weapon, and it kind of makes the only strategy you have, which is blocking, kind of pointless. But I could definitely see it being way more fun and chaotic when you actually get 4 people playing. Mm-hmm. And I believe it's cross-platform. So, oh yeah, it definitely is. So, I mean, that's also actually pretty cool, especially if you know someone that has it on Steam.
So, would you say? I think it's like $20 the final game when it comes out. Would you say, given what you know about single player and I guess the extrapolation of how you think multiplayer would be, that's worth those $20, or is it kind of one of those you have to wait and see situations?
You kind of have to wait and see, because the way a computer plays is also, I mean, typically it's way different than how a person plays. So it's really hard to judge that the battles would be as easily monotonous after a while. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I mean, it's no different than playing Smash Bros. Online versus a computer. Like, it's just way different.
Right.
Like, yeah, human-controlled NES is nothing like computer-controlled NES. And that could be the case for these crabs, but I guess we'll have to find out soon.
Right.
So for now, it's it's like a cautious yes, just because it seems fun. I mean, yeah, just because it can be fun, but, you know, it's just one of those games that you play in conjunction with other multiplayer, like, quick games, kind of like Star Bears and what's that other one called? Horsing Around? No, not horse.
Horsing Around's a BoJack show. You're thinking?
No,
yeah, I know what you're thinking. Wow, it's escaped me too. It's on Switch.
Kevin knows it. Yeah, it's a platform one.
Yeah, where you have to build the obstacles and then try and get over them.
Oh,
wow! I know it's something with a horse in it.
Yeah.
Ultimate Chicken Horse.
Ultimate Chicken Horse. There we go.
Yeah, because the way. So,
yeah, Ultimate Chicken Horse, Towerfall. You know,
yeah, I guess just to bring it full circle, yeah, it sounds like this is the type of game, to your initial question of is it a deeper game or something that's just in a multiplayer rotation. It sounds like, as it stands, multiplayer rotation. Possibly beyond.
It's just a fun multiplayer rotation one.
Right.
Like, everyone will get a kick out of it, but after a couple rounds, you'll be like, all right, let's go to the next one.
Right, which the Switch has a lot of those, so it's cool that there's just like a constant stream of new ones to rotate in, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it does have going for it that it plays and looks nothing like any of these other ones. It's like definitely trying to do its own thing, which is really, really appreciated. Mm-hmm. It's not a 2D one-shot kill one. It's
right, like Battle-Loon or one of those. Yeah,
or Towerfall.
Or Towerfall, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think there even will be anything else like it in a while. I mean, we still don't have Gang Beasts on Switch. Do we have Gang Beasts on Switch?
We do not have Gang Beasts on Switch, but we have a knockoff coming to Switch called like Jelly Humans, something like that. It's basically Gang Beasts, but not. So just if you really need Gang Beasts on Switch, you can get the knockoff. I don't know why it's not on Switch. It seems, I mean, like Humans Fall Flat's on Switch.
It was going to be on Wii U.
It was at one point. But like Human Fall Flat came to Switch, and that's like the same basic physics engine. If you think about it, I mean they're different, but it's very similar. Like if one can work,
it is. I mean, I thought it was made by the same people because the character or the main character plays almost moves identical.
Yeah, so kind of odd that it's not. But at least there's Fight Crab, photorealistic Fight Crab.
Yeah, but I mean the title screen is, or I guess the the intro is also really good. It's just dramatic anime intro music. Set to, I guess, the backdrop of like crabs fighting each other, and they definitely did a really good job with that.
Nice. So
I think that's even part of the trailer, which anyone could check out.
I'm sure once the game's out, people upload the intro too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but any other thoughts on Fight Crab?
What?
I said, any other thoughts on Fight Crab, or was that pretty much?
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So Kevin, what have you been playing? I think I know, but I'm actually not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Am I allowed to talk about this? Even though it is a game on Switch, even though
Rogue Company, right?
PC. Yeah, I've been playing Rogue Company.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a cross-platform free to play. So
a Star Wars story.
No.
But yeah, it's yeah. Why not? I think it's fair game.
I've done it before. Come on, let's
yeah, exactly. You just did it with whatchamacallit a few weeks ago.
Carrion.
Yeah.
And then okay, so I'll talk about the game first, I guess. So Rogue Company is a 4v4 competitive shooter published by Hi-Rez Studios, the guys that I think they're the developers of like Smite and Paladins, but they didn't actually develop this one. Another company did, and the name can't think of the name of the people that made this. But it's a.
Oh, it's different from any of the other shooters you play, because it seems like there's a lot of 4-player team shooters.
No,
lately.
it's a very similar. But one big difference is that this one is 3D. Third person? It's a third person shooter, as opposed to a lot of the first person shooters that I play. But it's very much influenced by your CS:GO, your Valorants, your Overwatches. 4v4
Apex?
No, this one is not a battle royale. It's just a 4v4.
Oh, it's not. I assumed it was for some reason.
Oh, so like Team Fortress?
Sure.
No one even talked about that game anymore. I guess.
Props to Hi-Rez for not making a battle royale in the age of battle royales. Like that in of itself, I feel is kind of commendable. In the same way, Fightcraft is not a 2D game.
I'm sure they will eventually.
Wow.
But anyways, currently there is 2 game modes that you can play. Demolition, which is your standard sort of search and destroy mode from like Call of Duty, where you have 2 bomb sites. One team has the bomb and they got to plant it, and the other team has to defend it. But you could just pretty much win the round by killing everybody on the enemy team, so you don't even have to really plant the bomb. And then there's Strikeout, which is just a deathmatch with a limited shared life pool. So I think you guys have like 20 life tickets or whatever, 20 respawn tickets. And there's a point on the map that switches up every now and then, where if you capture that point, and after like 2 minutes, if you're still holding on to the point, the enemy team will lose a life. So those are the 2 game modes. And then there's, let me think off the top of my head, I think there's 11 characters to choose from right now, and there are empty slots that are definitely going to be used for future characters in the future. Future characters in the future, no duh.
Double future.
Yeah. Does the double future cancel out? Is it like the double negative rule?
Yeah, and then you actually gotta have characters
from multiply it.
I think it cancels out, and you actually go back to the past. So the next character is going to be Abe Lincoln. Is basically it.
Super future.
Yeah, but each character has their own specific loadout. Each character has their own specific like ability and passive ability. There's one character whose name is and they all have like generic names that I'm starting to get like mad at when you think about the names of characters from like Valorant or Overwatch, Apex, and now this game. So there's one character whose name's Dallas, who his ability is like he'll snap his fingers and then he'll scan the area around him, and any enemies in that area will you'll see like their outline. There's another character that can put up this big shield. There's another character who can like just give himself a quick little 25 health point buff. It's really funny because I feel like the game is generic by all accounts, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. The gunplay is fine. There's just something addictive about it that I can't put my finger on. It's just so generic, but the characters all have decent designs. The maps all look bright. I don't know what it is about this game that's definitely got me hooked. And right now it's in beta. It's in beta mode, although you can pay for it. I paid I think $20, and I was able to get all the agents. I think that's what they're called. Yeah, all the agents or all the rogues. I don't even remember. But
that's how generic it is.
Yeah, I swear, if I'm gonna next Quarantine Chronicles, I'm gonna bring up a bunch of names of all these characters, and I'm going to say, all right, which one's the Apex character, and you guys aren't going to know the difference.
I was about to make that point.
In the same game.
I was about to make that point that, like, I understand the character-driven shooters are a thing right now, but, like, there's gonna be a point where everything's super generic or super, like, you know, tropey, and I think we've hit that point, because every game, like, I remember at the Game Awards last year, they had, like, what's his name from Apex do a whole bit with Jeff Keighley, and I was like, this could be any character from any of these, like, literally any of them.
Yeah, and not gonna lie, like, with a few exceptions, like, I thought the majority of, like, when Overwatch first came out, like, this and Battleborn, I thought Battleborn had more interesting character designs. I thought, like, the Blizzard ones, or at least the Overwatch ones, didn't really feel that inspired. Like, I thought Tracer looked very generic for some reason, but I guess over time, I guess, like, you know, they just kind of grow on you. Even though I haven't played the game, I guess, because I watched a lot of their animations or the little shorts, like, I started to, I guess, like the characters a lot.
I think sorry, I cut you off.
But, I mean, they also have, like, the marketing power to do that versus these other hero games where, you know, they're kind of just stuck in that game. Unless you play it, you won't really, I guess, get attached to them.
I think the one that was most egregious to me was I was watching the Ubisoft Forward, which we'll get to later in the show, and they showed off that basically Battle Royale sports game, extreme sports game. I forgot what it's called. Something like that. And they had a person with a bear costume head on, and I was like, wait, so does Fortnite, or maybe they have a tiger or something, but it's like the exact same. Like, the aesthetics are so, everything's bleeding together so much now because there's only so many. Like, let's have the whimsical person who wears like half a furry costume, and they all have that now. It's just like it's so samey everywhere now, it feels like. And even though some have more marketing power and can become more of a thing than others, like, it's so samey.
Riders Republic, there we go. That's the name.
Riders Republic, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, the gameplay, it's fun. They absolutely need to add a couple of things. They need a ranked mode. They need to add a couple new maps. But like I said, it's currently in beta, and I don't think they've said when it's coming out. Crossplay is enabled, so I was playing with a buddy who's on PS4. And for the Switch owners out there, I saw the video that Digital Foundry put out, and they said that it was a very, very good port. So there shouldn't be, like, any problems with that Switch port.
Hi-Res is very good about that. From what I remember, Paladins and Smite also got high marks from Digital Foundry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, me and Jason, huge Run the Jewels fans. This game uses a bunch of instrumentals from Run the Jewels songs.
Really? I would never have thought that. That's so random.
The character selects, or the rogues, whatever, the agent selects uses an instrumental of Legend Has It.
Huh.
At one point, in between the transition in between, like, the character select screen and as soon as you're into a game, uses Live from the Garden. Or not
really?
Live from called Ticketron.
The Ticketron song, yeah.
And then there's another one, I think Thursday in the Danger Room is also used at one point in the game.
Interesting. I wonder how that came about. I wonder if those are placeholders because it's a beta.
I wonder if Run the Jewels knows.
My guess is they do not. If it's instrumental, I'm guessing they don't.
It's funny because I've been streaming this game, and I do get copyright claims because.
Oh, really?
Because
of Run the
Jewels. Yeah, so that's interesting.
Huh.
But aside from that, that's Rogue Company. Fun little game. Definitely do not. I would say don't pay for it. Just go the free to play route for right now. But I am having fun with it. I am having fun with trying out every rogue agent character, whatever, what have you.
Every person.
Every person.
Yeah, I was thinking of, like, I remember when they showed it in a generic fun. I remember
that would be my tagline for the game. Generic but fun.
That's a back of the box quote if I've ever heard one. But yeah, I do remember watching the original partner showcase where they revealed it for Switch, like back in July or whatever. And I was watching, like, this is kind of cool, but I was also like, but also nothing about it stands out to me. I was like, it looks cool in motion, but, like, I forgot about it 5 minutes later. So glad to hear that, like, there is some fun to be had in that genericness.
Whatever happened to that Battle Royale game that lost out to...
I don't think it ever was released.
Overwatch.
No, you mean Overwatch.
I mean, not Overwatch.
The one
that other one.
Yes, the one that was coming to Wii
Fortnite.
U, was it? No, Switch.
Switch, I think.
Yeah, we played it at E3 a few years ago. It was cool because it was made by two guys. And they were doing it when Fortnite wasn't quite what it is now. Fortnite came to Switch that same week that we played it. I don't remember what it's called though, but yeah, I felt really bad for them because it was literally like a little indie project, and they were doing the entire build the island, have the walls come in thing, and it just like never made it because it got basically swallowed up whole by the big behemoth that is Fortnite.
Fortnite, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called though. I'm trying to find it real quick, but if anyone remembers, tweet it to @RandNintendo and we'll give you a like. That's worth something, I'm sure, maybe. But yeah, well, I guess that's what we've been playing. I mean, I don't have much. I started getting back into Mario Kart Tour because of the promotion to, if you play Mario Kart Tour, you can get the pin set for the Mario Anniversary. And then I found myself actually kind of liking Mario Kart Tour. Like, not enough to maybe go like super long term with it, but now that it has a landscape mode.
Make me sick.
Well, now that it has like a landscape mode and like gyro controls and like all the issues I had with it on the gameplay side are kind of resolved. Now the only concerns I have with it are the free-to-play monetization stuff. But even then, I found it being way more less like intense about it, getting back into it. But maybe they ease me in, and maybe in a week I'll feel otherwise. But that's pretty much the only thing I've been playing. But I did want to say that it is a lot better to control with gyro in landscape. Although it's weird because every time you play in landscape, when you finish the race, you have to switch back to portrait. Like you have to rotate the phone to do the menus. They didn't make the menus. But like that's just a menu thing. Like in the broader picture, it's not that bad. Like it is weird to rotate, but it's not that bad. So that's really all I've been playing. But it's maybe a good segue to talk about what Nintendo announced in their latest Direct, which is a phrase we haven't been able to say in a long time. Granted, it was a Direct solely dedicated to the Mario 35th anniversary and its plans, but nonetheless, it was nice to finally have Nintendo string together multiple first-party game announcements in a single presentation for I think the first time since pre-pandemic. And they did it with this 35th anniversary Direct. And one of the biggest announcements is also the nearest to release. That is Super Mario 3D All-Stars, the long-rumored compilation of Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. That's Galaxy 1, not Galaxy 2, just Galaxy 1. And it arrives this Friday. 15 days after it's announced, it's on store shelves. So literally 5 days from now. And yeah, what do you guys think of Mario All-Stars?
The 3D collection?
Yeah.
I mean,
or the 2D one if you want to go down memory lane.
I mean, I guess kind of the way you passive-aggressively jabbed at it, I think that kind of sums up everything. Pretty much everything you said. Like, long-rumored, yeah, like, to the point of nauseum, and it just kind of sucks. Like, this is definitely, like, the perfect example of why I hate rumors so much, or at least, like, any kind of quote-unquote just news leak from Nintendo, because even if they're not true, I mean, it doesn't matter, but it just sets expectations up. And this one definitely did just that. Like, it set everyone up for, like, impossibly high expectations. Maybe not impossibly high, but either way, it just gave them expectations that Nintendo clearly didn't meet, because it sounds like a lot of people are very upset with the compilation, either because it's missing a game, because it's not remastered enough, or some other reason.
Well, I'm raising my hand.
I just kind of wish, like, people had just shut up and not said anything about it, because then at least this way it would have been like, oh, it's kind of neat, and then that would have been it. But because it's been sitting in people's minds for a while, like even mine, like I thought like at minimum it would include Galaxy 2. 3D World always felt like it was going to get its own release, and it did. But this one definitely felt like it was going to have a little more, especially more besides like just like a music player, like maybe a little museum or just like some little tidbits or historical facts about each game. But it almost feels underwhelming now. What could have been a decent surprise now just feels like a disappointment. At least to me.
But so, well, actually, Kevin, you were raising your hand. You go, and then I have a.
Oh no, I was raising my hand in when Angel said that now people are upset. Which, I mean, I wouldn't call myself upset, but I definitely rolled my eyes. And it's like, really, that's literally it. You just slapped Mario 64 on it, put it on high resolution. You couldn't do anything with it. Like Sunshine.
So
Sunshine, Sunshine. I love Sunshine. I know people out there don't like Sunshine.
Sunshine's great. Yeah, I'm with you on that. 100%.
Yeah. And then Galaxy. Yeah, I love Galaxy, but then came out like, oh, yep, you still have to use motion controls. It's like...
No, you don't. It's optional. They mapped them to the buttons, too. X button.
Okay. And then Galaxy... It looks like I'm just never going to play Galaxy 2, since they're omitting it from this and just the memories of everybody, since it wasn't included in that video that they put out as well.
Yeah, because they didn't want to admit that it's not in the package.
It's just
but I do think...
it just feels very half-assed to me, which is weird considering
it
that's
does.
the 35th anniversary. Who celebrates the 35th anniversary in this way? Did you just skip
I feel like they felt obligated to. They could have just waited till 40.
So I do think, before we, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I do think before we go into all the problems with this, it is kind of worth acknowledging that, these are kind of great games. It is cool. Obviously we will have wanted more, but, I'm excited to revisit Mario Sunshine. Having Mario 64 Mario Galaxy accessible in this way is kind of cool. We obviously have played these before and whatnot. There's a whole younger generation or other audience where this is, a bit of a history lesson for them. Because, Mario 64 is 24 years old. The DS release itself was, 16 years ago, too, or something like that. And Sunshine's, 18 years old.
But what 8-year-old is going to want to play Mario 64, considering he has way better-looking games out there?
Well, I don't know if it's all about graphics. When Game Boy Advance came out and they released every single Mario Advance game, and those were just ports of Super Nintendo games.
But the Game Boy Advance was limited in its capability. The Switch can absolutely handle a much better looking Mario 64.
Yeah.
The fact that Mario 64 is probably one of the most important games of all time. And for
they could have put Mario 64 DS.
Yeah.
That looks better.
Well,
they could have just remapped the controls.
I think...
Why is that game not included in there?
So, yeah, I think overall, it is... Yeah, exactly. Or the multiplayer battle mode. I think overall what happened here, and this is Nintendo's fumble, is... Well, yeah, you're right, Angel. I think you hit the nail on the head with the rumor thing. Because, even if people didn't set high expectations, what's kind of weird about 3D All-Stars is that Nintendo's... They swerved around basically every possible expectation of what a re-release could be, even by their own previous standards. And I think... that in of itself, because you're saying, if people didn't have the rumor, they wouldn't have gotten their hopes up. I think the end product and the reason people feel how they feel, and I'm so excited to pick it up, but I wish it had more, is because they didn't do anything consistent with how they used to do things. Because there are basically 3 types of re-release Nintendo has done before. There's the HD remake, there's the deluxe edition, and there's the anniversary collection, right? And they've done all 3 of those, and they're all kind of different, and this doesn't check any of those boxes. Because if you look at an HD remake, this one always felt like the furthest reach to me, that they'd actually change the art style of these games. Nintendo rarely does that. They did it with Wind Waker HD. You could argue the original Mario All-Stars is basically the early 90s equivalent of that, because they did 8-bit to 16-bit, and they took all the 8-bit games and kind of re-skinned them. But so for Nintendo, that's kind of unusual. But to your point, Kevin, I think a lot of kids maybe are looking at what Activision's been doing lately with Crash and Crash Team Racing, and even just Tony Hawk this month, and seeing that they're completely overhauling the games, and that does make 3D All-Stars seem extremely minimal, even if by Nintendo standards they'd be odd man out to do that. They did do some stuff. They cleaned up textures in Mario 64, but it's still 4x3.
They're ports.
I think that's the part that kills me.
They're
it's still 4x3. Jesus Christ, are you kidding me?
And then Mario Sunshine, they made it 16:9, and they got rid of the muddiness, but that's it. And then Galaxy, they now support non-motion controls, like I was saying, but that's it. You're right. If you're someone going into it today, especially with the trend of the industry remaking things in real ways, this feels very separated. They could have... The reaction you guys when I said 4.3 Mario 64, they could have made Mario 64 widescreen. They don't have to render anything new. They just stretch out the sides, essentially. Not even stretch it. They just lift the black bars. It's funny because right after Nintendo shared that they are keeping Mario 4.3, literally the next day, Bethesda trots out that their re-releases of Doom 1 and 2 from the early 90s are getting widescreen support and gyro aiming for Switch for free in an update for everyone who already bought the game. And those games were $5 a pop to start. It wasn't like this is a huge investment that they're doubling down on. If they can do it, it feels like Mario 64 can do it.
You just talked about Tony Hawk being remastered. Tony Hawk, the first 2 Tony Hawk games were remastered. It's not even a remaster. It's just straight up a remake. That game cost $40.
Yeah, and this costs $60 in the 3 games you already have.
Yeah.
Which brings me to
including
point
Mario
number
64,
two,
a game that you have played millions of times.
Well, we have.
Oh, true.
There's an audience that hasn't. Yeah.
But like I said,
and that's the thing is, like, for us,
playing it on the Wii U last month and beat it in less than 30 minutes.
Of the audience that hasn't played it, who's going to choose to play Mario 64 over Sunshine or even Galaxy?
It's a fair point, and I think
only people that are curious about the history of it would play it. I think most people would just kind of pass.
I don't know.
Maybe that's why it's only available for 1 year, because it's not really a.
Well, I think there's bigger issues even than they just did Mario 64. I mean, Angel, you brought up the point that, like, where are the mini games? Like, I think, like, the expectation I had from the rumors is that they were going to do kind of what they do with their deluxe editions, right? Because I said there's like 3 ways this could go. Like, I thought they were going to do extra content. Like, if you look at the bulk of Nintendo ports for I don't know how many years now, like, they really like to do the whole deluxe edition thing. You know, take an existing game, give it a few touch-ups, like they're kind of doing with 3D All-Stars in terms of visually, but then augment it with additional content or extras or something. Like, you know, New Super Mario Bros. U had the DLC included, and they added Nabbit and Peachette and, you know, mechanics for them. Then you had, like, Twilight Princess HD, where they added a hero mode and that cave tower challenge thing. Or even Pikmin Deluxe, which comes out next month. Like, within weeks of All-Stars, that has new side missions, difficulty settings, Emmy Encyclopedia. You know, we talked about a few episodes ago. And I don't think 170 music tracks in of it. So that's cool. That's cool, but I don't quite get why they did that but left out, to what you're saying, Angel, because I did want to focus back on this for a second, the Mario 64 content. Mario 64 DS exists. Even if they say, okay, 64 DS is weird, you played as multiple characters, hats became abilities to turn into those characters, like, it wasn't really Mario 64, it was like a spin-off, fine, don't include that, whatever. But why not include the minigames that don't require touch controls? Why not include the multiplayer mode for a system, the Switch, that focuses on multiplayer? Like, they were hyping up, oh, Mario Galaxy includes the co-op feature, which is nice, but, like, Mario 64 DS had that whole arena battle thing. Yeah, where you, I don't know if you remember it. Did you play it much? Where you're like Yoshi and you put on the different hats and you had different abilities and you basically, like, fought each other? It's kind of fun. And, like, that seems like an easy thing to just up-res it.
That's also how the basic game worked. But I thought you meant, like, or I guess they were all, like, fight for stars, essentially.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, they could just, like, it feels like a missed opportunity. I mean, to really draw the parallel, if you want to look at past Nintendo, Mario All-Stars Original on the Super Nintendo came with the Mario Bros. Mode for 2-player. You know, the one that was then the staple in, like, every Game Boy Advance Mario re-release. Like, that was there. I don't know why they didn't do the 3D equivalent here. It just feels weird.
I mean, Nintendo just doesn't seem to like making good choices sometimes. Like,
well, I don't think it's good choices. I think it's cheap choices. I think they like money, and they can get a little stubborn when they're on top.
Good choices for the consumer,
right?
I mean, just look at the Wii release of Super Mario All Stars. I mean, there is a version of Super Mario All Stars that includes Super Mario World. It's just called Mario All Stars plus Super Mario World.
Yeah,
but nope, they just gave us the version without it. They literally they consciously gave us a ROM with one less game, even though they could have given us that extra one. Because
they wanted to keep those virtual console sales up. That's the reason. They wanted to keep selling Mario World on the virtual console. But it is funny because, like, where I'm saying all this stuff about, like, oh, I'm really disappointed that they didn't do a deluxe edition content for 3D collection. But to take a bit of a detour here, it's funny because I expected the Anniversary Collection, or 3D All-Stars, to be what 3D World was in terms of added content. Like, I don't know if you guys... Nintendo did a horrible job of presenting Super Mario 3D World in the presentation, I feel like. Because they're like, hey, here it is again. We added a thing called Bowser's Fury. It's kind of DLC, but we won't really tell you what it is. And I was like, all right, that's fine. I probably don't need to spend $60 on that. But then, like, after the presentation, some of these other details started to come out. And, like, Nintendo's putting a lot of effort into it. If anything, it's a director's cut of the game. Like, Game Explain noticed they're literally speeding up the gameplay, which... honestly, like, the characters were kind of heavy in the original, so that makes some sense. They're adding new moves, like the mid-air dive from Odyssey. They're changing up camera angles. They're fine-tuning levels and mechanics and other stuff. And then on top of that, they're adding full online multiplayer support. And this is on top of the DLC thing they're doing separately. Like, this feels like the type of, like, oh yeah, they're enhancing things I would have guessed the others would have gotten. Like, not necessarily graphical overhauls, but like some sort of, like, nips and tucks and tweaks, and yet... it's 3D World that's surprisingly now on my radar, something I actually might get when I had zero intention. I mean, I don't know how you guys felt about the 3D World port, so to speak, but I was kind of impressed.
I still don't want to get it, but I want to play the Bowser content, and I don't think that's going to be available without it. So, screw you, Nintendo. That's kind of how I feel.
But like the online thing, like I feel like they probably didn't anticipate this, but like, and who knows what the COVID situation will be, but to have a co-op Mario experience that's now online that wasn't before, it's kind of cool. Like it's a way to experience the game differently than you may have the first time.
I mean, it's definitely a different way to experience it. I think it's definitely, I mean, obviously not everyone has the opportunity to play it with other people, but
Yep,
I mean, I
like
played
me.
it. I played it the first time around entirely in co-op, and I really, really enjoyed it, especially because it was local.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, obviously you can't expect that to be as easy in these times. So having the ability to play online is great. But considering like most people that like I was reading up on, and including myself, like we literally 100% at the game, like beat everything. So even if you have those improvements, it still might be a chore to play through just to get to the Bowser content, unless you could skip that. But I feel like right now I'm just gonna kind of wait until I see if that extra content is substantial. I mean, it kind of sucks that the value of the entire thing is kind of dependent upon the Bowser content, because I think like no matter what, it's not going to be worth $60, because obviously the value comes from the main game and the Bowser's content, but the main game may as well not be there as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think there's something we need to distinguish
just because I'm in that special circumstance that
yeah, I was gonna say
where I'm kind of
distinguish
punished
here.
for having played the game.
All the complaints we have today.
Wii U owners are pretty much being punished.
Yeah,
for
13 million out of
on Wii U.
13 million out of 60 million, yeah, which is, you know, let's say everyone that bought Wii U bought Switch. That's still a decent chunk of Switch, but that's something that we should be mindful of, I think, is we're obviously complaining from a place where we have experienced these games before and know what can be.
Yeah,
but like for people where this is all brand new content, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is brand new
Like,
content.
I mean, like, Kevin, are you interested in 3D World?
Yeah,
in light of all
absolutely.
this?
I never got to play it. I didn't have a Wii U.
Yeah, so we're like right now we have like the perfect trifecta of people, because we have Angel who's like, I beat it, I don't want to do it again. Me who's like, oh, but I could do things differently this time. And you who's like, well, I've never even done it. And I think Nintendo knows not all three of us are going to be happy, and they're catering it in certain directions. What that means though is that, you know, a part of their lineup is now filled with this instead of something that may have been entirely new and of interest to you, Angel. So it does kind of suck, yeah, as being someone that supported them in the Wii U days. Now you feel sort of like, well, what's in it for me now? But it's just finding that balance, I guess, between all their stuff. Because how you feel about 3D World, Kevin, might very well be how a bunch of people feel about Galaxy or Sunshine or even 64 on the collection. Because like I know a few people anecdotally who are like super psyched because they never played like Sunshine or Galaxy. And to us, it's like, how dare they? Like they don't. Even as an anniversary collection, it's missing stuff. Like to us, that's egregious and horrible. But like to some people, it's just like, oh, cool, 3 games for $60. Like if I buy them used, and let's say I have the consoles, but if I buy them used, they add up to about the same. But now I have them on the go. That's cool. So
$60,
you know, it is kind of
Jesus Christ.
It might be. I will say the thing that bothers me.
Super Mario. Let's not beat around the bush. Super Mario 64 at this point should cost $5 across the board.
Yeah.
And those other two
or
games
maybe 8.
don't.
I'd give them 8.
No.
It's still a big game. It's still a huge game. Like, just because it's older doesn't mean it doesn't have a lot of content.
But it's a game that's been re-released so many times.
Twice.
Twice.
Well, 4 times.
Yeah.
4 times, actually.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, and I think that brings up. So you know, I was saying there's like 3 potential expectations going into this, and Nintendo somehow failed all of them. That brings up the other one. It's like, fine, if Nintendo's not going to release the games in a different way, we know it's a re-release. We, the fans, have played it a bunch of times. Why didn't they do the anniversary collection thing? Like, you know, a potential counter argument that I was kind of making is you do get 3 Mario games as is, which is true. But like,
I still feel like I'm getting ripped off.
Yeah, because like, so I have right here, I plucked them out from my shelf. I have the Kirby's Dream Collection Special Edition for the Kirby anniversary, and the Mario All-Stars 25th Anniversary Edition, both for Wii. And they come with more games each. So Kirby has Kirby's Dream Land, Kirby's Adventure, Kirby's Dream Land 2, Kirby Superstar, which in and of itself has 7 games, Kirby's Dream Land 3, and Kirby 64. So 2D and 3D. It comes with new challenge stages, a Kirby History Library, and physically...
That's true. It comes with some Kirby... The Kirby Wii game, it just comes with like some challenges from that game, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
I actually remember playing those.
And from Kirby Return to Dreamland. And
there you go.
Physically, because I have it physically here, it also comes with a CD, compilation CD, so you can listen to stuff not by having your Switch on, like you need to do with Mario, and a Kirby History like interactive timeline thing on the disc. Then Mario, which is also right here, comes in a nice fancy box with a Velcro. And it comes with, obviously, Mario All-Stars, not Mario World, as you noted, but also a CD, so you can listen to music anywhere, and a Mario Origins history art book thing in the box. Both of these were at full MSRP when they came out, but they felt like a little more of a thing because you didn't just have the games. You had these nice packages. They're embossed. They're shiny. You had physical, tangible items. They were more of a collectible. So if Nintendo just wants to re-release, at least you could say, like, hey, we're putting out the stuff you had before, but we're making it in this new package, like a Criterion collection.
Yeah, do what limited run does. I mean, they just put out for pre-order, I think starting yesterday, the Game Boy Color Shantae game, and it comes in a replica Game Boy Color case. And that's pretty cool. And I mean, the cartridge still works, but it also, I think it has like a digital code.
And I think that is ultimately where the fault lies with Nintendo with this project. I think expectations of it being an HD, personally, of it being an HD remake were never going to happen because they typically don't do that. I think the Enhanced Edition could have maybe happened. That would have been a stopgap.
As soon as it was a compilation of any kind, they definitely weren't going to do remasters. If it was just like Mario Sunshine or just Super Mario 64, then I could definitely see that.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, the thing is, so, okay, if they're not going to do any of that and they're not going to throw in bonus modes, which they could have done. I mean, Kirby had them, the Dream Collection. If they're not going to do either of those things, and then they say it's a limited edition collection, that points to, again, these guys, these boxes, these fancy things. And I think that's what's throwing me off is the box you buy. I'm buying it physical because I'm buying all my games physical. The box you buy is literally just a random normal Switch case with a cartridge in it. That's it. And what's even weirder is they're saying it's limited time, and this is the other thing people have an issue with. They say it's limited time, but that includes the digital. So on March 31st, 2021, the digital 3D All-Stars collection will evaporate off the eShop.
For some reason?
Yeah, and I think it's certainly a choice. I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Like actually pulling digital content off the shop instead of just physical?
Dumb?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. Like, I don't. There's no good reason to ever do it unless it's just strictly marketing purposes. Like, as a consumer, we gain nothing from it. It's just a sleazy business move. That's all it is. You could try to justify it, but there's no reason why anyone should ever have to do that.
Yeah, because like on Nintendo's side, on the simplest level, it's a supply and demand thing, obviously, right? Like if Nintendo limits the supply to a specific time frame, they can shoot demand way up, guarantee strong sales. It's no coincidence that 4 days after the announcement of 3D All-Stars, Amazon's second best-selling game in all of 2020, only behind Animal Crossing, is now Mario 3D All-Stars. So like it does work as much as it sucks. But I think my gripe is that like in this direct. We saw 3 different approaches to this idea of limited run or limited edition or limited capacity. It really amounts to Nintendo's version of the Disney Vault, right? Like re-releasing and revamping titles from the back catalog, but doing so in these kind of limited run ways to maximize the effectiveness of get the sales up as high as they can. But this one just felt like so much weaker because it didn't really have any sort of justification besides we don't want money, like to your point, Angel. Like there was no, there's no physical run for an eShop download. So they could say, yeah, we don't want to print embossed boxes, but they're not even doing embossed boxes. But they could say we don't want to print boxes. Okay, but is your server, like, does your server get a virus on April 1st? Like it's arbitrary. Yeah. So again, it's weird because I'm actually very excited to have portable Mario Sunshine to have. That's really the only one I'm super psyched about. Like Galaxy feels fresh in my mind still. 64, I've played it a bunch. But like Sunshine, I'm super hyped about. But there's all this weird like stuff around it that's just kind of like, why is this not what it could have been? Yeah. So unless there's anything else you guys want to touch on with 3D All Stars, I guess we could talk about those more effective or reasonable, shall you say, limited releases that were also announced alongside 3D All Stars, because the other ones, personally at least, I think have a bit more logic to why they are how they are.
They're also much more interesting.
They are. So let's jump into that unless anyone had any other thoughts real quick. Okay, we take that as a no. So first up is Super Mario Bros. 35, which is quite literally the Tetris 99ing of the original Super Mario Brothers. Same developers, same interface for choosing a multitude of opponents to target. Same concept of taking like a single player thing and making it a battle royale. Here though, it's 34 other opponents, not 99. and instead of sending garbage blocks to target folks as they clear lines, you're trying to run through Mario levels, and by jumping on or clearing enemies, those enemies are then sent to other players' screens. And the added twist is you now have an item roulette as you're going through the level that gives you additional abilities to get rid of those additional enemies, essentially. So what did you guys think of it?
Seems cool. I'm annoyed that it's only going to be available for about a year, but it seems really cool.
Less than a year, like 5 months.
Yep.
I think it goes away in March.
Yeah, it's going off the same day that the 3D All-Stars goes away.
Yeah, they all go away.
I was actually excited for that one, and then I heard
you could still be excited.
No, I don't care anymore.
Here's the thing. Well, first, actually, Kevin, you didn't even say what do you think of it?
It could be cool. If it's super cool, it sucks that it's being taken away. You said that there was a reason that this was limited. I'd like to hear your reason.
Sure. Well, first, I kind of want to set it up by saying I think the concept's really cool. But okay, I'll tell you the reason why. Then I'll circle back to what I like about it. About the game, I mean, I think ultimately it's a freebie, right? It comes with Switch Online. It's designed as a special event as part of like the broader Mario festivities, shall we say. And to me, I don't see how that's very different, if at all, in the same way that Fortnite or Rocket League or any other game with a premium pass you buy a subscription to syncs modes in and out over time. I mean, in an ideal world, yeah, you could play it forever, but I don't think it's nearly as egregious as Mario All-Stars because every game does this with different modes. And from Nintendo's perspective, like, for us, it's a cool limited thing to do.
Yeah, I mean,
for them,
you could make that comparison, but I feel like they don't do that often, and this is just a really cool concept that just seems like a shame to have to take away after.
So I don't think they're actually going to take it away, honestly. I think they're going to repackage it and make it a permanent game down the line. The same way Tetris 99 started as a special mode just for Switch Online, and next thing you know, it's a full game that you can buy.
Isn't Tetris 99 the complete argument to what you're saying? It's like the season pass, but like Tetris 99 is here to stay. It's been here to stay.
It is, but initially it was a season pass type of thing, and that was so popular that Nintendo turned it into a full release. I think ultimately
they said that it was going to be a limited
They said it was a one-off mode only for Switch Online subscribers as a free bonus.
Okay, so not a limited run game.
I don't think they put a finite end on it. No.
Okay, so this does.
Right, but I think ultimately it's going to go the Tetris 99 route. But what I was saying initially is if I was Nintendo, it's a freebie, right? We aren't paying for it. We aren't like doing anything to get it. It just shows up. And really, at that point, it's basically a marketing tool. It's getting people to get Switch Online subscriptions if they haven't already. They're basically placing an urgency on a thing. Like in it the same can sort of be said for Mario All-Stars, like by putting a time limit.
I'm not saying it couldn't be justified. It just sucks.
I guess to me it boils down to I don't think it's that sucky. I don't think I would prefer it was there all the time, but I don't fault them for doing it because like it doesn't.
I don't care what they do. Like I'm just upset that I'm not going to be able to play. I mean, I guess obviously we won't know until it actually comes out whether I actually enjoy it enough. But like, say they actually do just stick with what they say, and it's just gone forever, and that's it. I mean, that sucks.
Well, first, I should back up and just say, like, I really want.
I'm not going to hate them for it. It just sucks.
No, and I do like, you know, I'm a Tetris 99 junkie, so I'm pretty excited that this even exists in the first place. I mean, I don't know, like, to your point, if it's going to be good. Like, it if anything, it feels like a more like chaotic real time version of Mario Maker multiplayer than it does like a normal Mario. So I'm curious how it's going to work, but and of course, that leads to a whole nother conversation of what sort of interesting possibilities for other NES game conversions could it make. But we'll get to that in a sec. I think the thing that kind of sucks is, yeah, okay, so the game gets discontinued, but like, it's not really a game; it's a service, is how they're looking at it. And services come and go, and season passes come and go. And I honestly would be okay if they say, for Switch Online, you have a rotating season of these sorts of Battle Royale games, and they take out Mario and then sub in, say, Balloon Fight Battle Royale or like an Ice Climber Battle Royale. Actually, Ice Climber would be really cool now I think about it because it's basically 2D Fall Guys. Yeah. You're platforming upward to the top, and you have to just fight everyone in those polar bears with sunglasses. And Like, that could be super cool. And actually, Nana and Popo, they're pretty well known because they're in Smash. But yeah, that could work. They should do that. But yeah, if they basically said, hey, a reason you need to stay on Switch Online is because we're going to keep rotating these games. So you need to keep your subscription up to make sure that you can try each of them as they come in and out. That's ultimately no different than the rotating catalogs on Netflix or Hulu or whatever. And while I get it's not ideal, it's not ideal, I think ultimately these wouldn't exist if Nintendo didn't see a way to make money off them, or the movies didn't see a way to make those deals or whatever. So I'd rather have it be limited and rotate versus not at all. I think this is very different than Mario All-Stars. Both of them have a sense of urgency, but one of them you are just buying a thing and it just sits there. This one is strictly created as a marketing tool. So I don't mind it as much because you go in knowing this isn't like, you know, you have a game that you buy in the eShop, you assume it's on the eShop. You have a thing that is like a rotating item on a subscription. It's a little different. The expectations are different, I guess I could say. I still would prefer they keep it, but I'm not necessarily faulting them as hard as I think you might be.
I'm not faulting them. I just say it sucks. That's it.
Fair. But I will put it this way.
It doesn't really go any deeper than that. It just sucks. I'm just saying it as I play games. If I find a game I like, I want to keep playing it. If it's not available anymore, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's a bigger problem in the industry in that case than just Nintendo doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just Nintendo. I mean, that situation just sucks in general.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the same thing with Netflix. I mean, or any kind of service. It's like, yeah, do I know that a lot of these things aren't going to be on the service forever? It's like, yeah, but that doesn't make it any less, like, upsetting of a situation when something leaves. I was in the middle of watching all of Rugrats when it just kind of left Netflix abruptly. And, yeah, I just never ended up finishing it because there was, like, no convenient place to watch it. So...
It does go back to the conversation we had a couple of years ago about.
It's just kind of like another one of these. All right.
Yeah.
Except this time we know beforehand that it's actually going to leave. So I don't know if that makes it better or worse. I guess it's almost worse.
I think it makes it better because then you have a chance.
No, it definitely makes it worse.
Does it?
Yeah. Yeah, because this way, like, before I even can get excited, I already know it's only going to be for a limited time.
But I'm confused why. I guess I'm confused why you can't have short-term enjoyment of something if there's a long-term, like, why can't you be into something for a couple months and then a couple months later you're just, that's it? Like, ephemeral things.
I just said the situation sucks. I could still enjoy it. I'm probably still gonna have the time of my life playing it for what little time it's available. But
you just said your excitement went down. Like, I guess what I'm saying is we're used to so many ephemeral things.
Of course, yeah. I mean, my anticipation and excitement for the game went down for sure. Doesn't mean I'm gonna have any less fun with it than I would have otherwise. I'm not gonna like, oh no, Angel, you can't have that much fun. You're having a little too much fun. Just like reel it back. It's like, no, it's just my hype for it just kind of got diminished a little.
Okay, yeah, because
it's like fun. It's like, oh, new Ninja Turtles movies coming out. Like, oh, that's awesome, by the Seth Rogen crew. Oh, would you rather like not have a Ninja Turtles movie exist? It's like, I don't know, maybe.
Or see, that's the part I don't get. That's the part.
It's like I don't know. Like I think I don't know. Like it doesn't matter. Things come out anyway.
That's the part I don't get is that tail end there where you're like, maybe I'd rather not have it at all. That seems very, I don't know. Like, I guess because the way to think about this in my mind is when we go to an event and they have a limited time engagement.
Kind of a weird question to ask in general because like you obviously, hindsight is 20/20 and you can never get back to that point. But that's also gets to a very personal part for each person.
Sure.
Like, it's really case by case. And it's almost impossible to get anyone to like agree with that because it literally is like, it's very circumstantial. Like
that's
my experience is the way I play games very, very differently from the way you play them. So any kind of experience or knowing when something's going to come out, like, I mean, yeah, I like with that in mind, it makes perfect. I mean, even if I ignore like everything you just said, it still makes I could still see why you would care less about it because you kind of play these games the first couple, like a few times when they come out, you have your fun and you kind of move on. Like, I kind of try to see, or, I mean, if I like a game, I just want to keep playing it, you know, until, I don't know, I just physically get tired of it.
So how do you feel about modes that leave games?
How go about modes that what?
Leave games, like the season pass stuff. How do you feel about that stuff?
It sucks. As somebody who plays a bunch of Destiny and having favorite. Destiny is about to do this. Destiny is about to take off a large chunk of content because, well, the game's already bloated enough. But there's a bunch of like good modes in there. It sucks, especially if you especially
same thing with Brawl Stars.
Yeah, especially if you pay for it.
There's some modes in there
technically
that were only available for one season.
Yeah, technically I'm paying for Nintendo service, and they're going to give me this one thing that they're going to take away. Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, there was a Godzilla mode in Brawl Stars that was only there for like 2 months. It was really fun. I don't know why they took it away. It's more fun than some of the other modes in the game. But, I mean, it was obviously for that Summer of Monsters promotion thing that they were trying to go for. But
I think this is something we're going to see more and more of, honestly.
I mean, we're just on the consumer. What are we going to do about it? There's nothing we can do about it except just...
No, but I mean, like, I think there is... So this goes back to a conversation we were having a long time ago about video game preservation. A few years ago, about like the idea of like as things go to streaming services and whatnot.
Sucks even more for people that are trying to preserve stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So on
they
that
should be
level,
the most upset about this.
Yeah, so on that level, it absolutely sucks. But I think what's happening is gaming, and we were saying this a few years ago, the concept of what a game is changing, right? And I'm not necessarily saying it's great, but what I'm saying is, if you think about the type of thing when you go to an event, and the event is like ephemeral, and you pay money and you go to the event, and the event is kind of a one-time thing, like a concert or like Comic-Con where we go do the experiences or what have you. I think as the industry moves in the direction of things being able to come and go, things being streamed, things being digital, those events exist in part. Obviously, they want to make money, but the idea is like you have this thing, you go do the thing happens, there's an urgency to make sure you can go experience said thing when it happens, and then that's it. And you pay money for that 2-hour concert, you pay money for that badge for Comic-Con for 4 days, things come and go, then you just have the memory of it. I think, for better or worse, as we move into like this metaverse of stuff and the like, this is where gaming's going. Not every game's going to be like a concrete thing that's just there. There are going to be promotions, events, one-offs, things like that come and go. So where I guess I'm drawing my line in the sand is when it's something that is presented to you in a traditional format, i.e., here are some games we are releasing, you download them by paying us money, except one day you cannot do that anymore. That feels like ruining the traditional format. Going, hey, we're doing this thing we've never done before, really, where you can get free stuff for part of a subscription you're already paying for. That free stuff, though, is on a rotating timer. That feels more like a ephemeral, okay type of thing in my mind than the, like a game in the eShop.
No, but I think you're getting confused. No one's saying that it's wrong on Nintendo's part. We're just saying that it sucks, especially if the game mode turns out. No,
I'm not saying that you guys are saying it's wrong on Nintendo's part. I'm saying I think we collectively as gamers need to come around to the fact that as things move more and more digital, especially in COVID, the idea of limited time engagements has to be digital somehow too. There's no one goes to a concert and goes, I wish the weekend was in my house every day. Like they go in knowing, and I think we're just at that weird turning point where it's starting to happen, so it feels weird. But I think in a few years it's just going to be par for the course type of thing. Like, I think they wouldn't necessarily, because they can, if you think about it, you can actually create games and not worry about the meta, the longevity, the whatever. You can be like, I have this funny concept like jump rope challenge, and I'm just going to put it out there and see what happens. And they don't have to worry about, like, broader
if you have millions of dollars to, like, experiment with, yeah. I mean,
that's what I'm talking about.
If they get away with that, most people, that's typically not how you want to make games, because it takes a lot of effort and money and time
to do the longer, more fleshed out things, for sure. You think Mario 35 is taking that much money and time? It's a ROM hack combined with a Tetris 99 already existing platform. That's my point. You're kind of, I feel like in my mind you're already kind of doing it. You're like, well, games are this definition, and it means it only can be this much money put in. I'm saying no. I think the idea of what a game is can change. I think it's happening. So if there's some breaking point where games are going to shift, I'd rather it be like this and not like how they're doing Mario 3D World. 3D All-Stars. Because, it's happening already. Like, it does suck when stuff comes out of a game, but as it happens more and more, then it comes back into the game. That's why seasons are a thing in games now. And it's just where gaming's going. So it's like, I know I'm getting to the point in my mind where I don't want to knock a game that's trying something new. Like if Mario 35 existed and then they're like, just kidding, it won't exist anymore, I'd be more upset than them telling us up front this is a limited engagement like it would be if you go to an event and we do, some special weird demo or tournament or something. That's kind of how I'm viewing it. So, but that's just me. Clearly, we have a different opinion on this one.
Well,
but that said, I think, and you guys said it too, from Nintendo's perspective, this is genius because it does create urgency around the Switch in a time when there isn't. Like there's rumors of the Switch Pro, and Nintendo's over here like, well, hey, if you want like all the classic Mario games,
aren't there?
Well, yeah, but if you want like all the classic Mario games and you want to try this crazy Mario 35, like you better act this holiday. Like there's a reason, even without like a super AAA lineup this year, Nintendo's still upping their Switch production by like 20%. Bloomberg's saying they're anticipating 30 million Switches sold this fiscal year, which is more than the Wii ever sold in a given year, and very close to, if not exceeding, the DS at its peak. And that's in a year with competitors like PS5 and Xbox Series X and now S launching. It's honestly like it's not the most consumer friendly, clearly, but it's kind of a good way to combat them. Like, yeah, you have PS5 and Xbox this holiday with a smattering of new games and a bunch of cross-gen stuff you can play on your PS4 and current Xbox One. But if you want nostalgia, you better think about getting a Switch right now, because that stuff's not there very long. And once you're there, hey, here's Animal Crossing, here's Mario, here's Zelda, here's Mario Kart, all the evergreens. Like, it's something Nintendo is 100% leaning on this holiday, for better or worse. Like, even to the point where Walmart, they just listed the other day a Pro Controller that comes bundled with a download code for Mario Odyssey for $100, which is actually a really good deal. I think that makes Mario like $30. And in Europe, like, they're doing a limited edition Fortnite Switch that's going to come with V-Bucks like baked into it and everything. And basically Nintendo's like combining like the urgency of all this retro Mario stuff with their existing lineup to do like, minimal effort, maximum sales. On some level hurting us, on some level, at least in my opinion, maybe not as badly. But yeah, it's interesting to see how they're really just like, they're riding that nostalgia wave.
Riding it hard.
Yeah, they are. Because it goes hand in hand with their other limited thing they're doing, which is the Game & Watch. The Mario Game & Watch.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, like it feels like whenever Nintendo has a stiff holiday competition, and perhaps not their strongest game lineup in a given year, they fall back on these like limited edition things to fill the void. Because, it's just endless cash at that point. Like they did it with the classic NES the year before the Switch came out. When Wii U was as good as dead, was basically like the window where they're like, oh, let's just pump out some plastic with some ROMs on and see what happens. And it took off. And now they're doing it again with the Game & Watch. It really is kind of that Disney Vault strategy from earlier. Like, got a low on a release schedule, just nostalgia your way through. And like I don't mind this one, even less so than I didn't mind Mario 35. Like I think in the case of something like the Game & Watch, it feeds into the concept really well because it's already a tangible collectible thing. Like, really, does anyone need another copy of Super Mario Bros? Like, I own 6 or 7 at this point. But throw it on cool retro hardware, add the lost levels, because why not? Include a clock and whatever those 35 little touches means for the clock, and yeah, I'm gonna buy that thing for $50. Like, are either of you think you're getting it? What do you think of it?
It looks cool. I hate the price, but it looks really cool. I don't know. I'm undecided. It's like I want it, but I don't want to pay that much. So maybe okay. I don't know. This is where I'm at right now. But I just love how it looks. I mean,
it does
visually
look really
looks very, very nice. Yeah.
What do you think of the code?
Same.
I agree that's a very yeah. No, I agree that's a really cool little gadget though. Like, I mean, in terms of like historic, like the history of it, like it is a carbon copy of like the old 80s Game & Watch for Mario, but now it has a color LCD screen, it has USB-C charging, has like an 8-hour battery or something. It has both those Marios, like I mentioned, original and lost levels. It kind of has a silly remake of Ball, but with Mario's head on it, which feels like, okay, why not? Like, this thing feels more fully featured than 3D All-Stars, honestly. And then, of course, it has the clock, which I think the one thing I would add, this is actually a point that our friend made to us, Angel, when we were playing the other night. It needs a stand, so you can actually use it like a clock. Like, it should come with a little easel or something that I can sit on.
Huh. Does it come with a stand?
I don't think so.
Just like a little dock or
I don't think so. But it should, right? Like, wouldn't that make total sense?
Yeah. Oh, that is kind of weird.
Yeah. Like, and I feel like that would kind of like complete the package, so to speak. But yeah, honestly, like I feel like the random hardware was kind of the coolest thing in the Anniversary Direct. Like we haven't even touched on Mario Kart Live Home Circuit yet, which is like also a really interesting idea. I don't know if I guess there's not much else to say about the Game & Watch except it exists. So I guess we could go on to Mario Kart, unless you guys have any Game & Watch thoughts.
Not really. I mean, it's a pretty.
It just is. It is what it is.
Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious what all 35 little neat touches are, but.
Yeah, I know some of them involve Yoshis from Super Mario World, so they're already mixing and matching their generations and bits there.
Yeah. But
yeah, we shall see. But yeah, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. This is a cool idea. It's a mixed reality concept where you're using your Switch as an RC car remote, which of course, you know, they're physical versions of Mario and Luigi and karts as the RC cars. And then you're also playing a game using the Switch as an RC car remote because the view from a camera on the front of the RC car is overlaying. It's on your Switch screen and overlaid with like video game elements, like other racers and items and stuff. And the whole,
so in a way, it's almost like you're playing a worse version of Mario Kart.
In a way, yeah. The whole thing.
I mean, like literally, like if you look beyond the novelty of like you're racing in your house, you're pretty much playing with worse stages because most people aren't gonna have the realistic to make anything cool. Very few people are. I mean, we're going to be watching those videos and we're going to be seeing like real life recreations of, I don't know, probably like Ribbon Road or some others like stage, and we're going to be like, whoa, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
But it's just a worse version of it, like controls wise. I mean, there's no way it could compare with like the drifting and stuff like that.
But not that it needs to. I mean, that's not the.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I know it's not trying to, but it's definitely one of those things where when I first got announced, like, I was like, whoa, this is really cool. But then the more I thought about it and the more I found out about it, just the less and less excited I got about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I'm kind of the same.
Yeah, the concept is just really cool. But in execution, it just kind of sucks that.
Well, even in execution.
Like, in execution, I don't know how they designed this, but it seems like right off the bat, it feels too expensive for what it is. Like, because it's $100 for, I guess, the software, which is in a digital code, and like one cart and one cart. So right away, if you want to like get like, I would say like the best experience from it, you would need to buy two, or hopefully have a friend that bought one,
and that also has a Switch.
Like, yeah, because rather than like, because in my mind was like, oh cool, I could get this and play with Elvis, but it's like, no, that means we have to spend $200, and that is not feasible. Even for most parents, that kind of sucks. $200 at least. Like, I think that's honestly like my biggest gripe with it. That maybe they could have made the cars a little smaller just to maybe squeeze in a second, or maybe even just make it a little more expensive. Like maybe it was like $125 for two cars. I feel that would be a lot better. You know, just kind of like eat up the cost a little bit, and maybe sell the car separately cheaper. Maybe they will do that. I don't know. But something about that just kind of sucks, especially because, you know, going back to the more I think about it thing, like, given my situation, because everyone's situation is going to be different, so it may not even be an issue, but I don't really have a lot of space to create tracks.
Yep.
And if I did, like definitely not indoors. And outdoors, there really isn't a lot of room to make it more varied than simply a long oval or a big figure eight. So, yeah, like, it's kind of a shame that at least right now, like, my current situation doesn't make this a good purchase.
And even if you want to take it outside, the tires on that thing don't look
outside.
Don't look that great to be taken off road.
Oh man.
Yeah, and the other thing to consider is like, so it's $100 per cart, and then you have to buy a Switch if you don't already have a Switch. And like, you know, Nintendo's moving people towards one Switch per person versus one Switch per household. That's kind of been their move for the last few years. But like, this thing supposedly supports up to 4 people. So you're going to have 4 people with 4 Switches and 4 carts. That's like,
so much space.
A lot of money at that point. Yeah, and so much space too. And like and then, you know, the logical follow-up would be like, all right, so you have friends come over with theirs and you play it that way. But we're in the midst of the COVID pandemic. Like, social gatherings aren't as common as they were for a good chunk of the world. So even if you try to like write off the cost per household issue, you're stuck with well, how do you play this thing together when you have to physically be together to do it? Like, it doesn't really feel like the right product for the right time, you know? And it, like the whole thing,
because initially it does feel like it, like my first gut reaction was like, oh wow, this is smart because everyone's stuck at home, so they could make their carts at home. But then it's like, wait, no, it seems like the kind of thing you want to play with your friends.
Totally, and
because it obviously doesn't have online. How would it have online?
Right,
you can't sync up courses.
Right, so... and the whole weird thing, like. The more I think about it, the more this feels like an on steroids version of the hurdles that GameCube Game Boy connectivity had. Like, remember how difficult it was, like, for Four Swords Adventures or Crystal Chronicles to get, like, 4 people with 4 Game Boys and 4 $10 link cables together? Now try to get 4 people with 4 Switches and $400 carts in a pandemic. Like, it's such a cool concept. Like, even the little details of, like, so, like, the cart physically responds to boosts in game by speeding up in real life. It stops when you hit an item in real life to reflect what's happening in the game. Like, it does. They have, like, gates you can set up to let you, like, kind of navigate the course and signal to the game what the situation is. Like, it has such cool ideas, but it has all these, like, literal physical hurdles.
And this tech already existed. Like, Nintendo has already released little tiny remote control Mario Karts that, like, tiny little RC ones. They go pretty fast, and they actually do have items, quote unquote.
Yeah.
It uses a laser, and if it hits the other character, it'll actually spin them out. Like, this one will actually spin them out, and this one they just kind of slow down, which makes sense. I mean, it might get too complicated for it to find the track, but because the other one is all physical. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, it's a cool idea, but because you're not actually watching your character in real life and just playing it through the TV, I feel I almost like the previous attempt more because you would actually be looking at the little car. I feel that's part of the joy of using an RC car, that you're actually looking at it drive around. But it's just some weird in between. It's really weird. I mean, it's very unique and it's interesting, but
to me, it reminds me a lot of the Lego Mario sets. Like
0 out of 10. Yeah.
Did you say 0 out of 10? No, I was gonna say. All right, 0 out of 10. Mario Kart Live Circuit or Live Home Circuit. Don't buy it. No, but for me, it reminds me a lot of the Lego Mario sets because, like, the idea is super cool in that if you have the space, it lets your imagination really run wild with building tracks that are basically encompassing what's in your house. Like, you could literally make Lego structures and have them on the sides of the track. You can take stuff from your house, and I think for kids on some level, for kids on some level, the idea of like, oh, my house is inside my TV's video game does on some level probably cancel out some of the concern about like the tangibility of an RC car and being able to watch it for real. Like, it's a different enough experience.
I mean, making that your game is really cool in of itself. I mean, the fact you could technically even use it as a remote control camera. I mean, you don't really have to do the race. You could just like drive around and just play from your TV. Just kind of do like a open world home exploration. I mean, that could be pretty fun too. But
and I think
the resolution of the
also we don't. Oh, is it
420?
Is it? Or are you just saying that?
No, I'm not making that up.
I thought so. I have no idea, to be honest. I don't think they've said, which doesn't
bode
well.
It's at least like
720. Hopefully, because they have an HD system. But like, I'm just thinking like when I was watching the trailer and when I was thinking about like ignoring the hurdles, everything about this just reminds me so much of how I feel about the Lego sets. Because it's like, I didn't buy the Lego Marios for a reason. Like, I'm not going to play with them as the way it's envisioned, where it's like you use your imagination, you build things. Like, that's just, I'm not. My thing is the Lego NES model, where like I build a thing, it has a start and finish form as a project, and then I display it, and that's it. Like, it's kind of a self-contained thing. And this, like, and by the way, I did finish it. It took like 12 to 14 hours, but the Lego NES is done. Yeah, but this feels like one of those things that you can't just buy it and be like, oh, here's a game I'm going to play. Like, you have to want to build those tracks. You want to have the room to build the track. You want to have the stuff in your house you want to put on or near the track. You want to, even if you're playing solo, like, envision all these crazy schemes, figure out if it can do ramps and have it go down your stairs, or if you can make jumps. Like, there's so much you could want to do with it, driven by your imagination. And that's great for an audience that may exist, but I feel like because of the cost, even if the kid has the imagination, the parents could be like, oh, I don't know, little Timmy. I mean, maybe we'll get it for you by yourself. And if they do that, then the question becomes, well, what is there as a single-player experience? Because all we know is they're promising multiplayer for up to 4 people and a single-player Grand Prix mode where you race against virtual Koopalings and unlock new costumes for Mario and Luigi. That's it. So, like, is that enough to justify the cost if you're not going to be able to have the friends? Because you can have the craziest imagination of building a track and go super into it. Like, the thing I don't like about Lego Mario, like, people can go do and have a great time with. But, like, if all you do is race the same Koopalings, how quickly does it get boring to race the track you just spent an hour building?
Or 45 minutes. About.
Oh, okay. Thanks. That's what I was looking for. Appreciate that.
It's usually about like 15 minutes per Koopaling.
Yeah. No, that's a good ratio there. Yeah. But no, I do think like Nintendo deserves some like serious props for like really upping their accessory game with this, and just this generation in general. Like we've talked for years now about how Nintendo loves to sell plastic. You know, like the Wii days were probably the bluntest embodiment of that. Here's a plastic case. Now your Wii Remote's a gun. Here's a plastic case. Now your Wii Remote's a wheel. And then, like, obviously Wii U had Amiibo. Plastic that really didn't do much besides look cool. But with Switch, like, it really feels like whether or not these are going to work or are priced right, like, it really feels like Nintendo's putting an effort, which I appreciate.
Oh,
you know, like Labo and all its crazy contraptions.
I will not take that away from them.
Yeah. And then Ring Fit last year with the Ring Kong, and now we have this.
That was last year? Jesus.
Yeah, it was last October. Like, this feels like what Amiibo could have been. Like, a plastic physical thing that becomes the core of a game. I don't know how they would have done that with Amiibo, but, like, conceptually, this is what I feel like Amiibo should have become in some way. But what's also kind of cool about it, I don't know if you guys know the backstory of who's making the game. It's a studio out of New York called VLAN Studios. It's actually founded by the guys who originally founded Vicarious Visions. The ones who... Yeah, so they're the ones that did all the crazy...
Hawk people?
Tony Hawk and Guitar Hero. So they're the ones that did all the crazy accessories for Wii and DS, like the guitars. Like the DS is crazy, like you plug into the Game Boy slot. Yeah, man, it's true. No, but yeah, these guys like have for a long time done bizarre physical implementations for playing video games, and they made them for Nintendo, and now, you know, fast forward a decade and Nintendo's coming to them saying, make us this crazy Mario Kart implementation. So on that level, that's kind of cool. Like that must be very rewarding for the developers to get this opportunity. And I think there is a lot of potential here. I just think it has a lot of hurdles. Yeah. And I suspect the kind of ho-hum response online where people are like, that's neat, is pretty much the signal that it's either going to not take off or it's going to be a slow burn a la Ring Fit. But I don't think it's going to be like a runaway success. But yeah. But anyway, so that's Mario Kart Live. Unless you guys had any other thoughts on it.
Nope.
I can't wait to see what people come up with. I am looking forward to those videos of
yeah.
like Bowser's Castle IRL or blah blah, whatever IRL. But...
Same. Yeah, you mentioned Ribbon Road earlier as an example. I think like I jokingly said this on Twitter, but honestly, I think someone at Nintendo was like, what if we just like did Ribbon Road for real? Because like the whole premise of that track is you're in a kid's playroom. So, and you're tiny. So like it kind of, it's very sort of self-referencing, this whole project.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty much what was in the Mario Anniversary Direct. I mean, mostly there obviously are quibbles about the quality of what they announced, but I was just happy we finally got like long overdue news from Nintendo. Like this was reportedly going to be a thing they did back at E3. Obviously that didn't happen. Nintendo had to adapt, but I'm just like glad that they have some sort of like multifaceted, all-encompassing celebration of Mario going on. Like I remember a month ago or so, I was saying here on the show that
honestly,
what?
Like, honestly, like I've stopped, I guess, like worrying about, when Nintendo has or hasn't made any news. Because I don't know. I mean, like there's plenty of other things that like occupy, I guess, like my thought time with like other releases from other companies and other mediums or like action figures and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That when Nintendo goes on these long hiatuses of not saying anything, like it doesn't feel like it's been that long. But I mean, I know it has just because the internet, especially Nintendo fans, make it very clear
yes, they
how
do.
long and how many days and how many hours it's been since the last insert specific type of Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
But honestly, like the only reason I'm even happy this particular event happened is because it kind of gives us a reset on what rumors we're going to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I don't have to hear about a Mario compilation rumor pop up on Twitter every now and again.
Right.
But
unless there's another one with Galaxy 2 coming, you never know. They didn't. 3D Land isn't included either.
That's true. It's going to be like Galaxy 2, Mario DS, and some other 3D-ish. Oh, I guess
Odyssey.
3D World?
Well, no. There we go.
It'd be like 3 other 3D games that don't fit in there, I guess. Because they're either sequels or remakes or...
think you're onto something, Angel. We should
3D
start
Land
this.
was.
We should start this rumor and just bubble it up on Twitter about once a month for next year.
I don't want to.
3D Land, 3D World, and Galaxy 2.
Yeah, I don't even know what the theme of that would be. Like, what's the consistent line between them? I mean, the 3Ds. It literally
Super Mario 3D All Stars 2.
Plus, yeah, I guess that could work. Yeah, but no, but what I was getting at is like I think it is nice that like there's like a cohesive Mario thing happening, because I was saying like, oh, they announced Mario Monopoly and Mario Jenga and Lego Mario and all this other merch, and it felt like, I think I literally was like, it doesn't feel like something's happening. It just feels like random licensing, because like there's not even a logo or anything, and now they have a logo complete with Mario doing his little Switch finger snap, which I love that they included. But anyway, yeah, like they have all those past products.
I still don't understand.
It's not that uncommon. 35th anniversary. I think it has a name. I think it's like not silver anniversary, but it's one of those.
I don't know, man.
It definitely is a thing.
It's like you do your 10th, you do your 20, you do your 25th, obviously. Then you do your 30th,
quarter of a century, yeah.
Then 40th, 50th, then 50th.
It's called a coral or jade anniversary.
Disgusting.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a thing.
Well, it's
definitely a thing. I googled it, and there's a lot of logos for 35th anniversaries.
I mean, I will say, like, the Mario hype around this time period, I mean, it was still a little infectious. I mean,
it's fun.
I did get an Alba Golden Watch because I found out that they had one for the Mario series. Like, I was looking for just a fancy watch on a property that I liked, like either Ninja Turtle, Godzilla, or something. And there was a Godzilla watch, but it was like $12,000, like literally $12,000.
Chump change.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, compared to like other big brand watches, it's not even that much, because there are literally like $100,000 watches. But yeah, I saw that Alba had a line of Nintendo watches that just look really nice and classy, but also very referential and just very cool. Like the one that I got is like Famicom themed, and it has like an 8-bit Mario, and the second has like a golden little question mark block. I mean, well, the whole thing's golden. But it just looks really, really nice, and definitely really happy.
It does look really nice based on the photo I saw. But yeah, no, the Mario like celebration, to your point, is quite infectious. It's in every game. Like between now and March, it'll be in Smash, it'll be in Mario Maker, it'll be in Splatoon, it'll be in Animal Crossing. It's on shoes. Yeah, it's on Puma shoes that look kind of more like Sonic shoes, but apparently are Mario shoes. There's more I'm forgetting, but yeah, it's everywhere. Actually, the shoes are weird. Have you seen the leak for the other shoes they're doing for Sunshine and Galaxy?
Yeah, I posted those in our other chat.
Oh, that's right, you did. Maybe that's where I got it from. But yeah, so all these shoes are based on, I guess, Puma's RS Dream or whatever that shoe is. But
the first one was definitely better than the Galaxy and Mario Sunshine.
We'll link to them on the blog for anyone who hasn't seen them. They're not official yet, but like, yeah, Sunshine looks like it's like they're just generic. Like Sunshine's like, oh, it's on an island, so let's just make it look like an ocean and have like the soul be like beach colored. And then like Galaxy's like, oh, it's in space, let's just have like a starscape. And they just have a little Mario logo, and that's it. Like they don't at all feel connected. At least the first one, while it looks more like a Sonic shoe, like has the colors of Mario and like kind of represents the overalls and the buttons and everything. But anyway, yeah, that was just a thought. But yeah, that was Mario. That was Mario. But Nintendo did not stop there. Less than a week later, they were back, this time with Zelda news, in the form of a Hyrule Warriors sequel called Age of Calamity. It's by the same team as the original, but with a pretty big twist in that it is also a Breath of the Wild prequel. So gone are the original games, crossover episode meets best of, whatever you want to call it, vibe that like mixed and matched all the universes and gave us Linkle. Instead, we're getting a direct prequel that will dive deeper into the Great Calamity that, throughout Breath of the Wild.
So pretty much it's going to end with Link getting injured and being put into the...
Of course it is. Yeah, because, at this time when the world's in chaos, the thing we need is a game that tells us you're all going to die. Yeah, but essentially that's exactly right. Yeah, and it's going to be Link in it. It's going to be Zelda. You can play as both of them. You can play as the champions. It's going to, be set in that 100 years before. What's also noteworthy, though, is that the story and dialogue are being written by the core Zelda team at Nintendo, opposed to the Hyrule Warriors devs over at Tecmo Koei Tecmo, whichever order that goes. So it is, unlike Hyrule Warriors 1, actually... Is it Koei Tecmo?
Yeah,
okay.
it's
KT, yeah. So this one is 100% canon. And we don't know a whole lot at this phase beyond that. More information is going to be revealed on the 26th of this month in conjunction, I think, with Tokyo Game Show Online. But I'm curious, what were your like initial hot takes when this thing was announced a few days ago?
First I was like, wait, is this a new game? Oh, it's a Warriors game. And then I went on with my life. And then later, like, as soon as I found out it was a Warriors game, I stopped caring. Mm-hmm. And then, so I didn't even bother even looking into what it was about. But later on in my Twitter feed, like, stuff kept popping up, and I saw that it was supposed to be, like, take place during that battle that happened 100 years before the game took place. And, I mean, that's a cool idea for a premise of a game, especially for something that seems like it actually fits. It would fit the Warriors aesthetic, since it's supposed to be this big epic battle with all those guardians that I wish was in the actual game. It would have been cool to have to face off against a bunch of guardians in a town, but that was just a cutscene. But I guess it seems like you would actually get to experience that moment as it happened. But it's a Warriors game, so yeah. And that's not to say that Warriors games are bad. They're just not my cup of tea. Like, kind of like, I like some beat 'em ups, but overall, I feel like I lump it into the beat 'em up genre, because that's kind of what you're just doing. And obviously, someone could tell me that, like, no, you're not just pressing the same buttons over and over again to destroy hordes of enemies, but playing it, like, it just never really gets beyond that for me. Like, I don't know. There is a point in a game where I feel having your character be too powerful can make it not as fun. And I feel like this is one of those, but yeah, I know, like, some try to incorporate, like, a nice twist. Like, I think the Fire Emblem one actually had a version of its rock, paper, scissors mechanics incorporated in there, depending on what weapon you used. Mm-hmm. So maybe this one will have a nice spin to it, but yeah, as it stands, it just exists.
You did have a good analogy for this, and I remember when we were talking about, you were like, yeah, this is basically this modern 3D take of, like, Streets of Rage. Like, the Warrior
That's why I treat it like a beat 'em up, because you're just literally from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, the gameplay is exactly the same. You rarely get, like, any kind of power up or anything to improve your abilities. The only thing that changes is the types of enemies you face, which, sometimes they're interesting and cool. But I feel like most of the people I've talked to about this type of game seem to all get tired of it pretty quickly. But there are those people that, like, it just hits the right spot for them, and it's like the best thing ever, which is great. I wish I could get into these, because they are sometimes types of franchises I really like. They have a Warriors version of Attack on Titan. They have a Warriors Dragon Quest. I'm sure there's other Warriors games that... There's a Gundam one that looks really, really cool. That, I mean, just visually, like, it's in space, and you're fighting waves and waves of these Gundams.
There's a Persona one coming out?
Oh, yeah.
That I was going to bring up, because...
So, like, visually, they always look really cool. Like, even Hyrule Warriors, like, when I first saw the trailer for it way back in the day... Yeah. If I could say that. Like, I thought it visually looked really cool and interesting, but then when I played it, it's like I got bored of it really, really fast, and I was kind of bummed out about that. I guess it's kind of like ARMS, and I just, like, really want to like it, but, I guess, like, Fight Crab is just, like, it's not a game you want to play for a full hour. It's like a 20-minute game. But, yeah. So hopefully...
The Persona reference that you just made kind of funny, because there's a game that, like, you played the demo of in March, right? And Persona 5 Scramble, and it was seemingly coming west, and somehow in between, Nintendo is able to announce, and in that usual 8-week window they now have, release a whole other Warriors game while we're still waiting for the one you played 9 months ago, or 6 months ago, 7 months ago.
Yeah, but that's not a Nintendo game, so.
No, I know. It's just funny that, like, it kind of, like, they sort of slipped in front of it, because it's basically the same genre for Switch. But where you, I mean, so Kevin, you, if I remember correctly, were kind of into Scramble when you played the demo. So what's your thoughts on the Warrior genre in general and this?
I mean, I've never been a fan of the Dynasty Warriors games, or the I think aren't the Dynasty Warrior games spin-offs of Legends of the Three Dynasty or something like that.
Something like that. Three Kingdoms. Legend of Three Kingdoms. Yeah.
That being said, I am actually excited for this one. I didn't play Hyrule Warriors, but I did play Breath of the Wild, and as people know, I don't like that game. So, faster paced game set in the Breath of the Wild canon, I guess, is pretty cool to me, especially considering that this is supposed to be a war. Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm definitely gonna check this out.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how Nintendo's like bridging the gap here, because like the original Hyrule Warriors was completely a spin-off, self-contained. Kind of felt like a filler release when they didn't have anything in their lineup. 3 separate times, like Wii U, 3DS, and Switch, all received some version of it during a lull. And it doesn't mean it's bad or unworthy, but it just was always in my mind, because the gameplay, I agree, it can get very repetitive sometimes. It just felt like it was there, right? Like it's just kind of a thing. And I guess it's kind of cool that like it did well enough through all those re-releases that like, it has enough fans now that Nintendo is seeing an opportunity to sort of bring a spin-off into like the proper Zelda fold in a way that then enhances the core Breath of the Wild story. Because like we have a listener named Kurt who made a point on Twitter that an anthology series like Zelda like doesn't really get to dive deeper into its given worlds. Like obviously there's some exceptions. Link Between Worlds, for example, expanded on A Link to the Past and that Hyrule, or Majora's Mask kind of played with the expectations of Ocarina. But like the fact that we're getting both a direct sequel with Breath of the Wild 2 and kind of a prequel that fills in some other story elements about the war and the calamity in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, like that is very un-Zelda-like and actually kind of cool that they're like building out, they're doing more world building than they ever really did, which is kind of exciting to see. I mean, I don't know what that means for Breath of the Wild 2. I don't even know when Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out. Eiji Aonuma, the series producer, was saying in the video presentation for Hyrule Warriors, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, whatever that even translates to.
Get it.
But, exactly. But at least in the meantime, like they're building out like the world. Like, so many things about timelines and whatnot, but it's kind of cool that they're actually sticking to one and really fleshing it out, at least a little.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I also imagine it must be pretty exciting for the devs to have gone from making what seemed like a one-off, spin-off Zelda to becoming the flagship holiday game. I mean, like, Nintendo's not messing around here. Like, Age of Calamity is coming out on November 20th. That's their big holiday release slot. Like, this is a big deal. And that's for, that's for a game that, like, they typically were just like, oh, yeah, it is what it is. But now they're, like, reprinting Champion Amiibo to support it, and, like, I genuinely think because of the popularity of Breath of the Wild, because really of like kind of folks like you, Ken, because you're like, oh, well, Breath of the Wild is one thing, but I want to check this out. Like Breath of the Wild sold 19 million copies. It is the highest selling Zelda game ever. It's still in the top 20 of the NPD basically every month. It has been for years. I think Hyrule Warriors has a real chance to not just be a big seller for Nintendo, to kind of like whet the appetite for Breath of the Wild 2. I think it could sort of turn Warriors into a more mainstream franchise in general. Like, I seriously think because of the groundswell of interest around Breath of the Wild, like, Age of Calamity could actually outsell some real mainline Zelda games. Like, the smaller ones, don't get me wrong, but, like, in its original form, Hyrule Warriors, like, just as a spin-off, sold, like, well over 1 million copies. And the day this was announced, like, the trailer, or the video announcement was number 1 trending on YouTube. The trailer is number 2 trending on YouTube. It's like 1 million or 2 million for one and 1.5 million for the other in views in just the first day. Obviously, it's absurd to say those will directly correlate with sales, but my point is the interest in a Warriors game, because it's attached to Breath of the Wild, is through the roof right now. Like, sales of the Switch version of the original Hyrule Warriors are up 1,500% on Amazon following the announcement. So, like, couple that with the traditional Switch bump that every Nintendo IP seems to see, and how it relates back to Breath of the Wild, and kind of the starving, everyone's kind of starved for more Nintendo content. And the aesthetics, so when you first look at it, it really just looks like, Breath of the Wild. And then you're kind of drawn in by that. Like, I think this could outsell some of the lower selling Zeldas, like Skyward Sword or Majora's Mask, which are in like the 3 to 4 million range. Like, this is potentially a turning point. Link's Awakening's higher. I don't know the number off the top of my head, though. But I just looked up the lowest numbers, which were those two. Everything else is above 4 million, I believe. But I think it could get in there, and I think that's an interesting turning point, not just for the Warrior, like Muso, or however you say it, niche, but like for Zelda, because if they can have Zelda spin-offs selling as well as regular Zeldas, they could diversify that franchise. Not that they necessarily should, but they will if they can. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this does.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it may also mean that Breath of the Wild 2 is a lot further out than we may think, which is fine. Take your time, Nintendo. But besides Aonuma saying we'll need to wait a bit longer with no context what that means, I just can't see them releasing 2 games in the Breath of the Wild universe within a year of one another. Because the second Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, this thing gets cannibalized. So I think like at the earliest, Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be next holiday, if not further out. Which is, that's fine. It'll be ready when it's ready. But for folks who maybe did want Breath of the Wild 2 sooner, don't worry. Ubisoft's got your back, kinda. They had their second Forward event on Thursday, and they re-revealed what was once called God and Monsters, a game you may recall from E3 last year that looked an awful lot like Breath of the Wild. And it's back, and it's now called Immortals Fenyx Rising, and guess what? It somehow even more looks like Breath of the Wild. Did you guys see any of the like trailer or footage, or even watch the Ubisoft Forward at all?
I actually missed it. I just didn't have time to watch it. I just did see a few images though, and it definitely does have a very Breath of the Wild look to it.
What about you, Kevin? Did you happy to see any of Immortals?
No, I thought the last Ubisoft Forward was terrible, and so I didn't even bother with this one. And by all accounts, this one had nothing of interest that I cared about.
Yeah, I'm mostly into things it didn't do. well, not didn't do, but first, Immortals is like, let me stay on one topic here. Immortals is egregious. It's like, all right, so the premise is this evil guy puts a red and black corruption that covers the whole world in this open world that you can explore and climb anywhere you can see. You need to go rescue these large, like, champion-like people to help you fight the final boss. The swords and shields that you use all have a glowing, like, blue energy to them. And you go throughout this open world to these things called vaults, which are these puzzle challenge rooms. And you go in and you like do the puzzles, and then you upgrade your stamina. And at the end of every puzzle, there's a chest you can go where there's, some hidden thing you can get. It's kind of like shrines, really. And then there's a dodge move you can do. And if you jump off a horse, you can do a slow-mo arrow shoot. It's straight up Breath of the Wild. They even have the magnesis, like, moving things.
Is there weapon degradation?
So they do it a little differently. That's the one thing that's different. The weapons are an RPG system where you can upgrade them and have deeper RPG mechanics.
Okay, so at least it has that.
But everything else is like shot for shot, art style for art style, move for move, magnet for magnet, Breath of the Wild. That's the thing. It's like it's kind of a wholesale ripoff. Maybe derivative is a nicer way of putting it. But like, I don't think it's gonna be bad. To your point, Kevin. Like, it looks well made. The team seemed really proud of like they're doing like this kind of like lighter-hearted Greek myth angle with it. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that want Breath of the Wild 2 that aren't getting it that this will scratch the itch for. And it is coming to Switch on December 3rd. So like, I'm sure there's gonna be an audience for it. It's just so egregious in how similar it looks to Breath of the Wild that like just watching it, you're just like, wow, this is like, it looks like a skin swap essentially.
Yeah, I don't know what the name of this other game was, but like this game literally like facelifted, like the same grass, same like gliding mechanics, the same kind of shooting mechanics from Breath of the Wild. It's a game on PS4, and it got like a huge release, like I think in China. No, I mean not China.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It
like,
wasn't China.
I just know that maybe I just know that it's the game that when it got announced or the trailer was shown off. Like, there was someone that, like, threw their PS4 on the ground.
Genshin Impact. I'm really excited for that game.
Because it's Breath of the Wild how you want it to be, Kevin.
Well, no. It just looks like... it just looks like it takes place in the Breath of the Wild, like, physics, engine, and universe, but the actual, like, gameplay loop looks nuts. Like, it looks like everyone's, like, an all-powerful wizard of sorts that just, like, creates, like, a bunch of explosions and a lot of cool-looking stuff.
Interesting.
It looks really fun. It's just getting around the fact that it's set in Hyrule Field, I guess.
Right. Yeah, even Immortals, like in terms of the gameplay loop, is basically the same. Like you can go to any vault anytime you want. You can
Fallout Boy?
Yes, you can go to Pip-Boy's house anytime you want. No, but it's all like the exact same MO.
Wait, what'd you say? Pip-Boy?
Pip-Boy, that's the name of the little guy.
No, I was referring to Immortals.
I thought you said Fallout, like, because I said Vault.
Fallout Boy? Isn't that the guy that sings Immortals?
No, I thought you said Fallout, like the never mind. I thought you were making a Vault, Fallout, Pip-Boy.
Oh, no.
I went the wrong way.
Unless they don't have a song named Immortals, then...
They do, and that was actually a better reference. I thought you were referencing something with the Vault, and I got confused.
Oh, no.
That was a really good reference I totally squashed and squandered. But anyway, yes. Fallout Boy. Patrick Stump and company, yes. But yeah, it's like the exact same gameplay loop. So we'll see what it ends up being. But at least at first brush here, it's very Zelda-y. But again, it could still be good. I don't know. The one bone I do have to pick with Ubisoft is the remake of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, which is called the Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake. Real creative. Now, Kevin, I heard what
I mean, isn't that what the Final Fantasy VII one was called? But no one.
I think it's called it Final Fantasy VII. But Kevin, what was your? How did you feel about it? I'm sure you've seen the screenshots.
Yeah, that definitely looks like an early PS3 game.
Yeah. Now I don't have a lot of I'm not that mad about the look of it. It could for sure be better, but
it's a PS2 game.
It was originally PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. I have the GameCube one in the other room. And now they're bringing it to PS4, Xbox One, PC, and maybe Switch, which is the thing I'm going to get to in a sec. But it doesn't look like a PS4 or an Xbox One game. It's an alpha build, but it's like early PS3 at best. And I think like there's a huge backlash to how it looks because like the people in particular look really bad. Like it's like half remade, half up-res. They say it's built from scratch, but they tried to keep the humans looking kind of like how they look in the old one in terms of like the shape of their faces and stuff. But then they made all the backgrounds hyper-realistic, but like mid PS3 generation interpretation of hyper-realistic. So it just has this weird disconnect. I don't know. But I do think you weren't here for the last episode, Ken, but I was saying one of the games I was talking about from Indie World, Raji, was made by an Indian dev team in India. And I was saying that's kind of cool. Not very many Indian dev teams get a chance to like be on the global stage for games. Well, for better or worse, Prince of Persia is also the coming out party for Ubisoft's new India studio. So that's so that's cool that they get a chance to make like a big game. Unfortunately, it's not being well received. But the bone I have to pick is with the endless will they, won't they of multi-platform releases on Switch, because Prince of Persia went through quite the ringer, and I still don't know what the answer is. Essentially,
yeah, this is getting old.
Yeah, no, but it's like this one was like extra ridiculous. So they didn't announce it for Switch in the presentation, and that's fine, even though graphically it looks like it could for sure run on Switch. But then if you went to Prince of Persia's website, it was listed for Switch as a platform. It had a pre-order link, and if you click the pre-order link, you actually went to a Nintendo.com page for the game that didn't exist. Meanwhile, GameStop put up a pre-order saying it's coming March 31st, which is about 2 months after the January release for the other versions. And Ubisoft France, I think, or Spain, one of those like regional accounts, even tweeted Switch as one of the consoles it was coming to, only to then delete the tweet. So, like, if it's coming out, why can't they just announce it with the other game? How hard is it to just say it's coming to Xbox and PlayStation in January and Switch in March? Assuming that's true. Maybe they're having development delays. So why don't they say Switch at a later date? Like, how hard is it to just say the name of the system that has sold 60 million units and has a huge audience that would buy your game? Like, I don't get it. It's so bizarre to me. And it's not like Ubisoft doesn't support Switch. Like, they have that roller derby game, Roller Champions is coming to Switch. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game complete edition, which is like 3 subtitles too many, is coming to Switch. Immortals is obviously coming to Switch.
All the people that have been waiting for that one.
That one's kind of cool. Although, yeah, that one's kind of cool.
Maybe a little too cultish, but yeah.
The weird thing with that one is apparently the original developers and like people behind it were not told it was coming back. Ubisoft was just like, well, we own the code, we're just gonna re-release it. So that's like the creators of it were never told, so that's a little weird. But yeah, like all that stuff is kind of Switch, but why can't Ubi just say what's going on with Prince of Persia? Or like, why can't, someone like Activision just tell us Crash Team Racing is coming to Switch at a later date, or I bet you Tony Hawk's could be the same one. Like, I don't get why 3 years in, when Switch is the dominant platform on the market right now, they can't just be forthcoming, even if it's at a later date. Like, I know they're trying to get people to double dip, I guess, but Switch is big enough that I think there's a lot of people that aren't double dippers. Like, there's probably some you could just say, hey, don't worry, it's coming. But we're still second-class citizens of sorts. Yeah, so that was my only bone I had to pick. But it's just getting old, as you were saying, Angel.
A tale as old as time, unfortunately,
yeah.
Nintendo.
Seriously. At least we're past the phase where things are being tested. This game's a release. And
those are the worst. Even when Nintendo themselves does it. But yeah.
Yeah, like Capcom's whole, this is a test release, and if it fails, it's your fault you're not getting more games, or EA, or whoever.
If they want to release a game people want first.
Exactly.
To use as an actual test.
Exactly.
But
You're never going to get over that, huh?
no, I'm talking about Capcom right now.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Chibi-Robo.
Oh no, that's long gone. That doesn't even have a chance since the developers have been disbanded.
Yeah, they're pretty much gone. Skip.
Yeah, no, yeah, I was mainly just referring to Nintendo's insistence to test like with Street Fighter 4 on the 3DS or like with Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, but not give us any of the other games that people actually wanted on the Wii or the 3DS at that point.
EA's guilty of it too. Like, there's so many games that make sense for Switch that they're just like, well, Unravel 2 didn't sell well. It's like, all right, but maybe the audience wants The Sims. Have you thought of that? Or Star Wars, or Madden, or what have you. But because Unravel 2 didn't sell well, okay, we'll sit back. Although now they're coming back around because they see how big the market is. They have like, what did they announce? Like 7 games coming to Switch in the next 12 months? So.
10.
Was it 10?
No.
I was like, I would believe it at this point, but... Anyway, I mean, not to knock Ubi too much. Like, this is stupid, but at least they're confirming other games, and that's what's been nice is that now, as we're approaching the holidays, like we actually are starting to see what the lineup looks like this year. Like, if there's an overall theme for this episode, I'd say it was that we finally know what we'll be playing in the year 2020, and sometimes it's by way of learning what won't make the cut. You know, No More Heroes 3 was just delayed.
2020 is almost over.
I know, but we finally know what we're playing from now through the end of the year. That's my point. We had no idea 3 weeks ago about any of these things I just talked about. Yeah. Well, okay, new games. But yeah, like, and it's nice that we even know, like I started to say, that No More Heroes 3 isn't going to make the cut. Like, even a delay counts as things locking down and, like, setting in. But yeah, for the most part, I feel like we actually have a sense of what's coming down the pipe for the remainder of the year, and specifically when. For Nintendo in particular, I'd say, I don't know, how would you guys rate the lineup for this year?
6 out of 10, maybe 5.
Okay,
5 out of 10.
But
5 out of 10.
That's only because they don't appeal to me that much.
Right. Yeah, I would give it a solid. Well, you did numbers. I was gonna say I'd give it like a B. Like, I'd say it's like B tier, so like maybe like a 7 or something. Like, it's funny because like Mario and Zelda.
I guess a 5 would have been an F, huh?
Yeah, but like Mario and Zelda are there,
yeah,
but as ports and a spin-off developed by another company. Mario Kart is there, but it's a separate entry. That's not
on
quite
paper,
Mario Kart.
It sounds like an A, but
I know exactly. Like,
when you dive deep, it's a very like. I could see some people maybe rating it high simply for the Warriors game or high simply for the compilation game if they haven't played them. But for someone like me that's played all the 3D Mario games to death and doesn't care about the Warriors games, like, there's literally nothing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean about, like, it feels like kind of a B tier, because they are checking all the boxes. I mean, Pikmin, we're getting a new Pikmin, but it's actually an old Pikmin.
I mean, yeah, same thing. Also 100% of that game. So
we're getting more Pokemon, except caveat, it's the Crown Tundra DLC for Sword and Shield, not new Pokemon. Also, Smash will be back in the news because there's going to be a new fighter at some point, but it's just a new fighter. Oh, and don't forget Bakugan.
I forgot about that.
Can't forget Bakugan. But I think, yeah, exactly. No, I think like, honestly, like, the lineup they have, I'm personally, like, fine with. Like, in the next 8 to 12 weeks, we're going to finally have new stuff. It might not be
I'm
stuff
fine with it because that means I don't have to worry about wasting a lot of money on Nintendo stuff.
Right. There's also that, yeah. But, like, it's, you know, for me, it's going to be some fun stuff, some different stuff, well, I'm not going to touch Bakugan, so I'm not going to go there. But, like, in light of the pandemic and how the world has turned upside down, like, it feels... It's more solid than I thought it would be, and I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I'll happily take the stuff they're putting out. Like, I'm buying Mario 3D All-Stars, and I'm happy about that. I'm looking forward to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity just because I'm curious what that's going to be like. Pikmin I'll skip. Mario Kart I'll skip. I appreciate that those exist and could lead to more things in the future that I may be interested in. So, like, I'm surprisingly cool with what they just kind of solidified in these last 2 weeks. Maybe I'm not going to buy it all, but at least, like, it's nice to know that they have a release drumbeat going again. I mean, which of these do you think you're going to pick up, Kevin? Honestly, like 3D All-Stars and Hyrule Warriors, probably?
Well, I'm going to be grudgingly picking up 3D All-Stars and Age of Calamity for sure.
So, like, you can afford to. Yeah.
But yeah, like, honestly, like 2 games in the next 2 months, that's not bad. That's not bad, Nintendo. After all that summer weirdness, like, it's okay. So, I guess we'll have our first taste of that, like, now finalized lineup next episode, which is September 27th, because we're going to have impressions of the begrudgingly bought Super Mario 3D All-Stars, and probably discuss, I would imagine, how all those Mario games hold up and, rate them against each other and that sort of thing. So it's going to be a whole Mario Palooza to tune into. And even before that, on September 20th, we'll have our next... There's an emergency vehicle going by. They're trying to stop us from getting Mario, I think. They're gone now. But, even before that episode on September 20th, we'll have our next Quarantine Chronicles for all the non-Nintendo stuff. So unless there's anything else you guys wanted to cover, I think that does it for this episode.
That's about it.
I think that's everything, yeah.
All right. So to go into all
Good
the
job,
bookkeeping. What was that?
Just a good job, team.
Oh, go team. We did it. We saved Nintendo's fall. But yeah, you can listen to our podcast on all the podcast apps. Both Quarantine and regular can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, TuneIn. We are on YouTube. RandomNintendo.com is the channel. And you can follow us on Twitter at Random Nintendo. Make sure you don't miss anything about anything. Likewise, we are all individually on Twitter. I am JSR7. Angel is Weiro, WEIRO_O. Kevin is KVN Gomi. And I guess that pretty much does it. So, Kevin, final word?
I got it.